Hello, I'm Dr. Annie Wren, a psychologist at University of Oklahoma Counseling Center. Today, I'm going to talk about Dear Man, which is a coping skill that you can use to increase your interpersonal effectiveness. Dear Man was invented by Dr. Marsha Linehan. It's an acronym. Each letter stands for a step in the process of how to ask someone for something in a way that's likely to be productive to moving that relationship forward and reduce the likelihood of damaging that relationship. Examples of things that people do that don't move the relationship forward include having a yelling match when something is wrong or bottling it up and never talking about something that's wrong. So today we're going to learn about how to navigate interpersonal situations in a more effective way by using Dear Man. The first step in Dear Man is the D, which stands for describe. Describe the situation using concrete, observable facts and neutral words. Telling someone they're being clingy is not a fact. It's not objective because different people can define clingy in different ways. You might think that clingy means 5 phone calls and 6 Snapchat messages in a day. But I might think that messaging even once a day, every single day, is clingy. So using words like clingy or you're a slob to describe someone are all negative words. We want to use neutral words. We also want to describe the behavior and not the person. So instead of you're a slob, we say something that's more concrete, observable, and neutral. For example, you might want the dishes to be washed after every meal, but I prefer that the dishes be done once a week. By saying it in neutral words like that, we're not dissolving into an argument about who's a neat freak and who's a slob. We're just going to stay focused on the observable facts. So that's a D in Dear Man. Also, try to avoid using absolutes such as always and never. This can become a point of argument. If you tell me that I never do the dishes, I could point out that I did do them that one time 2 months ago. Instead of always, try using the word often, and instead of never, try using the word rarely. This will keep everyone focused on what's important instead of arguing over absolutes. Now let's take a look at the letter E. E stands for express. The basic formula is this: when you blank, I feel blank. You fill in the first blank with a behavior and the second blank with your feeling. When you call me 5 times per shift while I'm at work, I feel overwhelmed and frustrated. If you have trouble labeling your emotions, I would encourage you to look up something called the feelings wheel. This is a list of words that you can use to label your emotions for the second blank in our formula. Remember that saying that I feel like you're being rude is not really a feeling. It's putting a label on the person instead of labeling the behavior or labeling the emotion that it causes. So try this instead. When you check Instagram while I'm talking to you, I feel hurt and I don't feel valued. So that's the letter E. Let's move on to the letter A. A stands for assert. To assert yourself means to ask for what you want. You may want someone to start a new behavior, or you might want them to stop an old behavior that's hurting you. Focus on behaviors as they directly affect you. Don't try to change people. If you ask someone to be more outgoing, that's asking them to change their personalities, which is not healthy for a relationship. You can ask someone to change their behavior, such as asking them to reach out to you more often, or you can ask them whether they would like to go out together once for every 2 times that you stay in together. So here you're asking them to change their behavior, not their personality. Similar to the D step, you want to describe what you want in concrete, observable terms. It's less helpful to ask someone to reach out to you more often, because everyone has a different idea in their minds of how often the word often means. Instead, ask them to reach out to you once every 2 weeks. That's not to set an exact rule on your relationships, but to try to illustrate to them a general guideline of what often means to you. If you have an idea in your mind that you want someone to not be clingy, they might not even know that they're being clingy to you. So you want to describe what your ideas look like. Say something like, please don't text me more than once a day until I've had the chance to respond to the last text you sent. That's very concrete and visualizable. The R in Dear Man stands for reinforce, or you can think of it as reward. This is where you state a potentially rewarding reason for the other person to do what you'd like them to do. In some instances, the relationship being better is reward enough on its own. In other situations, there are rewards that could be potentially helpful to point out, such as, if you give me more advance notice about social events, then I'll be able to say yes to your invitations more often. The M in Dear Man stands for mindful. Mindful means to stay engaged in the present moment. Have this discussion when neither of you are busy doing other things, including driving, so that you can both stay fully focused on this conversation. Do not bring up other issues or offenses from the past. Stay focused on one thing at a time. Use Dear Man at a time when you're both feeling calm enough to have a productive conversation, not at the heat of your anger. This might mean that when a problem happens, you step away from the situation for a bit to calm down, collect your thoughts, and think of what you're going to say before saying it, instead of trying to address it right when the problem just happened and when it bothers you the most. The A in Dear Man stands for appear confident. You don't need to apologize for feeling the way you feel. You don't need to apologize for having needs or needing different things than what other people in the relationship need. Everyone's different, and that's okay. Say what you want and need like you really deserve it. While there's no need to posture like you're the only one who has a valid opinion, do make sure that you treat your own opinions and feelings as valid. It's hard to convince someone that you deserve to be treated right when you don't believe it yourself. So sometimes when using Dear Man, a little bit of fake it till you make it can be helpful, just in the sense of practicing a new posture. So you want to keep your shoulders back with an open stance. Keep your hands apart from each other instead of clasping them together or crossing your arms. So keep a confident, open posture, and that'll make you feel more confident. The N in Dear Man stands for negotiate. This means asking the other person for suggestions that they might want to make to solving the problem or changes they want to make to the solutions that you offered. An example of a negotiation or compromise is, if you want the dishes done every day and I want to do the dishes once a week, maybe we can compromise on doing them once every 2 days. So be open to negotiations so that both people can leave this conversation feeling like they're getting at least some of their needs met. So that's the Dear Man skill. I hope that watching this video will help you think of 2 specific interpersonal situations where Dear Man is useful in your life. So feel free to pause the video or do this afterwards. This can even be a past issue that isn't an issue anymore, such as a roommate relationship that has ended. Think about how you would do things differently if it came up with a different roommate in the future. Walk through the Dear Man steps and briefly either write down or rehearse out loud how you would use these steps to address this issue with that person. If you have this conversation over Zoom, you can even tape your notes or just the acronym Dear Man on the wall above and behind the computer screen to help you organize your thoughts while you're using Dear Man with someone. One final tip, you're not responsible for other people's feelings. So as an example of this, let's say you walk by a friend on the oval and you say hi and your friend doesn't say hi back. So there's different ways you can think of this situation. You can interpret it as this person hates me, or you can interpret it as this person just has their AirPods in and they can't hear anything. So depending on how you interpret that situation, you might feel angry and hurt, or you might just feel neutral. And even when a friend does something wrong, you have the choice between whether this is going to be a relationship ending issue or if it's something that you can work out so that you can give this friendship another try. So you can think about these interpretations as your own choice. And other people have the same choices as you do. So think about that when you're using the Dear Man skill or before you do it while you're rehearsing. Other people have the same responsibility over their interpretations and their feelings. You're responsible for making sure your actions are ethical, but whether or not other people have a healthy or unhealthy response to your actions, that's up to them. So even if someone you know has anxiety or depression, it's not your job to give them a protective bubble so that they never have to feel anxious or depressed. It's their responsibility to go to therapy, take their medications, and learn to cope with their own emotions by facing those emotions as they come up in day-to-day life. Just ask yourself whether you acted in a way that's consistent with the kind of person you want to be. That's the important thing to focus on, and it's the only thing you can control. So go out there and ask for what you need in your relationships. If others have different needs, that's up to them to speak up about it. Good luck. For other mental health tips and tricks, updates on new videos, and updates on when we open live workshops on Zoom or on campus, follow us on social media. You can find those in the links below the video. We also have relationship counseling here at Goddard. Only one person in the partnership needs to be affiliated with OU to be eligible. If you're interested in scheduling an intake for individual counseling or partnered counseling, please call 405-325-2911. Again, that's 405-325-2911. Thanks for watching.